presidents. They run the country, navigate crises, and apparently have some pretty interesting food preferences. From extravagant dishes to surprisingly simple meals, the favorite foods of America's commanders-in-chief give us a taste of their personalities beyond politics. Some were influenced by childhood favorites, others by regional roots, and a few were just plain quirky. We're looking at you, Nixon. As we dig into the food choices of past presidents, you'll find a delicious mix of the classic, the strange, and the comfortingly familiar, sourced from biographies, interviews with White House staff, and the presidents themselves. Here's a mouthwatering look at what fueled the nation's leaders. George Washington. Hoecakes with honey.
At the top of his breakfast likes were Hoecakes.
Father of the nation. Father of breakfast? George Washington had a soft spot for Hoecakes, a simple cornmeal pancake, which he often paired with honey. This wasn't some lavish meal fit for a king, but rather a colonial staple that reflected Washington's modest lifestyle. According to the Mount Vernon estate, he loved these hearty cakes so much that he frequently enjoyed them with butter, washed down with tea, a patriotic breakfast to start the day. Thomas Jefferson. Macaroni and cheese. Long before mac and cheese became the ultimate comfort food, Thomas Jefferson brought it to American shores after encountering the dish during his travels in France. He loved it so much that he brought back a pasta machine and introduced this now iconic dish at White House dinners. The Jefferson Papers revealed Jefferson's culinary curiosity, which extended beyond mac and cheese to include fine wines, olive oil, and even ice cream. So, next time you whip up some cheesy goodness, you can thank TJ for putting it on the map. Abraham Lincoln. Apples. Lincoln's diet was as straightforward as his speeches. One of his all-time favorites? Apples. Fresh, baked, or in pie form, apples were a consistent part of his meals. According to his law partner, William Herndon, Lincoln wasn't one to indulge in anything fancy. His preference for apples mirrored his simplicity, honest food for an honest man. Plus, they're a great snack for someone who is constantly on the move. Franklin D. Roosevelt. Grilled cheese sandwiches. During one of the most challenging times in American history, FDR turned to the comforting simplicity of grilled cheese sandwiches. As the Great Depression raged on, this melty combo of bread and cheese was one of his go-to meals. It wasn't fancy, but it sure was satisfying. According to White House chefs, Roosevelt loved the warmth and ease of this dish, which somehow felt right for a man helping steer the nation through tough times. John F. Kennedy. New England clam chowder. As a proud New Englander, JFK's love for clam chowder was as famous as his charm. Whether he was at the Union Oyster House in Boston or having it served in the White House, Kennedy couldn't get enough of this creamy, rich soup. The salty taste of clams mixed with potatoes and cream reminded him of his Massachusetts roots, and, according to the JFK Library, it was frequently requested at family meals. A dish as timeless as the Kennedy mystique. Lyndon B. Johnson. Texas BBQ. Everything's bigger in Texas, including LBJ's appetite for BBQ, smoked brisket to be exact. During his presidency, Johnson frequently hosted BBQ feasts at his Texas ranch, where the meats were smoked to perfection, embodying the flavors of his home state. According to the LBJ Ranch Cookbook, BBQ wasn't just a food for Johnson, it was a way of life. His love for it symbolized his larger-than-life personality and served with a side of Texas pride. Richard Nixon. Cottage cheese with ketchup. Brace yourself for this one. Richard Nixon's favorite snack was, believe it or not, cottage cheese topped with ketchup. While the combo sounds, let's say, unique, it was a daily part of his diet. According to the Nixon memoirs, this strange snack reflected his peculiar eating habits, which included regular late-night visits to the White House kitchen. If there's one thing you can say about Nixon, it's that his food choices were as unpredictable as his presidency. Ronald Reagan. Jelly beans. When Reagan wasn't working to end the Cold War, he was snacking on jelly beans. Lots of jelly beans. Reagan initially started munching on them to help them quit smoking, and it became a full-blown obsession. The Reagan Library shares that Jelly Belly even created a special blueberry flavor for his inauguration. Bowls of these colorful candies were always within arm's reach during his presidency, adding a dash of sweetness to Reagan's hard-hitting politics. John Adams, hard cider. In the early days of the presidency, John Adams had a fondness for hard cider. Like many early Americans, he drank it regularly, considering it a healthy alternative to water, which was often unsafe. According to Adams' personal letters, hard cider was his drink of choice with breakfast, giving him the energy to tackle the Revolutionary War, the presidency, and, apparently, a whole lot of paperwork. Martin Van Buren. Oysters, Martin Van Buren, nicknamed the Little Magician, had a big appetite for oysters. According to Van Buren's estate records, he often indulged in this shellfish delicacy, popular in the 19th century. Whether raw, fried, or stewed, oysters were Van Buren's go-to snack, showcasing his penchant for the finer things in life. Bill Clinton, cheeseburgers. Before his health took a turn, Bill Clinton was a burger guy through and through. Clinton was often spotted sneaking out of the White House to grab a cheeseburger at McDonald's. His love for the fast food classic was so well known, it became a Saturday Night Live staple. According to the Clinton tapes, cheeseburgers were his comfort food of choice, even if he had to go undercover to indulge. Barack Obama, spicy chili. Obama didn't just eat chili, he made it. According to Obama's autobiography, Dreams from My Father, his homemade spicy chili was a go-to dish for family dinners. With ground turkey, beans, and a healthy dose of heat, this chili reflected Obama's balanced approach to life: simple, spicy, and filled with substance. It's the kind of dish that warms you up, much like Obama's famous speeches. Andrew Jackson, leather breeches. Beans. Jackson wasn't one for frills, and his favorite dish was as rugged as his persona. Leather breeches beans, dried green beans stewed with bacon or pork, was a rustic dish that mirrored the heartiness of early American life. According to the Hermitage, Jackson's estate, this Southern favorite, was a regular on his table, reminding us that Jackson's appetite was just as tough as his policies. James Garfield, squirrel soup? Squirrel soup? Yes, really. James Garfield, the Ohio-born president, enjoyed this simple and rustic dish, reflecting his upbringing in the countryside. The Garfield Historical Society notes that this was a common meal in rural America at the time, proving Garfield's tastes were as practical and no-nonsense as his policies. Grover Cleveland, pickled herring. Grover Cleveland, the two-time president, had a taste for pickled herring, a dish with deep European roots. This salty, preserved fish might not be to everyone's taste, but for Cleveland, it represented the immigrant traditions that were central to American life in the late 19th century. According to the Grover Cleveland Birthplace, it was one of his favorite snacks. Theodore Roosevelt, steak. Teddy Roosevelt, with his love for the outdoors and all things adventurous, had a favorite food that was equally bold: steak. A man who lived as he ate, heartily and without fear. According to Theodore Roosevelt's Rough Riders, Roosevelt's love for a big, juicy steak was well known, fueling his rugged spirit and go-getter attitude. Herbert Hoover, sweet potatoes with marshmallows. Before it became a Thanksgiving staple, Herbert Hoover loved sweet potatoes topped with marshmallows. According to Hoover's Presidential Library, this dish brought a little sweetness to some otherwise tough times, reminding us that sometimes you need some comfort food to make it through. Harry Truman, well-done steak. Plain and simple, Harry Truman liked his steak well done. No frills, no pink, no problem. His preference for this straightforward dish reflected his Midwestern, no-nonsense approach to both life and leadership. The Truman Library notes that his love for a well-done steak was legendary among his staff. Dwight D. Eisenhower, beef stew. Ike's love for beef stew was well documented, and he often made it himself. A hearty, slow-cooked dish, Eisenhower's stew was a symbol of patience, discipline, and good old-fashioned hard work. According to the Eisenhower Diaries, he spent time perfecting the recipe, much like his military strategies. George H.W. Bush, pork rinds. George H.W. Bush made headlines when he revealed his love for pork rinds, especially with a little Tabasco sauce. This crispy, salty snack was perfect for watching sports or spending time with his family. According to Bush's White House archives, Bush's love for this Southern treat reflected his Texan roots and down-to-earth personality. George W. Bush Cheeseburger Pizza. Like father, like son, George W. Bush also had some unique tastes. His go-to comfort food was a strange combo: cheeseburger pizza. As bizarre as it sounds, Bush loved this fusion of two American favorites, which featured all the elements of a cheeseburger on top of a pizza crust. According to the White House kitchen staff, it was a frequent request, making Bush's culinary cravings just as memorable as his Texas swagger. Donald Trump. McDonald's Big Macs. Donald Trump's love for fast food, particularly Big Macs, was well known during his presidency. According to Trump's memoir Asterisk, his obsession with McDonald's comes from his appreciation for its consistency. When you're busy running a country, you don't have time for subpar food, right? In Trump's case, the Golden Arches were always there to satisfy his fast food cravings. James Monroe. French cuisine. Thanks to his time spent in France, James Monroe developed a taste for French cuisine. His White House dinners were filled with elegant French dishes, from soufflés to delicate pastries. According to Monroe's diaries, he brought some of France's culinary sophistication to America, paving the way for future presidential gourmets. Monroe's palate for French food was as refined as his political diplomacy. Franklin Pierce. New Hampshire fried potatoes. Franklin Pierce, hailing from New Hampshire, loved a good plate of fried potatoes. Often called the Forgotten President, Pierce's legacy may not shine as brightly, but his love for this early version of French fries was well known. According to his contemporaries, Pierce regularly enjoyed the crispy comfort food, which reminded him of his New England roots. A simple man with a simple yet enduring dish. Calvin Coolidge. Vermont. Maple syrup. Calvin Coolidge, born in the Green Hills of Vermont, had a sweet tooth for maple syrup. Coolidge would often request that the syrup be served with various dishes, from pancakes to meat. According to the Coolidge homestead, he took great pride in his home state's maple syrup production, even gifting jars of the sweet stuff to White House visitors. Woodrow Wilson. Chicken salad. Woodrow Wilson's love for chicken salad was legendary, especially during his time in office. Simple but classic, Wilson enjoyed this dish as part of his regular diet. According to White House menus, his preference was for a well-made chicken salad with minimal ingredients, focusing on quality over complexity. Wilson's salad of choice reflects his practical, no-nonsense leadership style. From squirrel soup to Big Macs, the culinary preferences of U.S. presidents are as diverse as the nation they led. Whether they were indulging in rich New England clam chowder or munching on jelly beans, these foods offer a personal and often surprising glimpse into the lives of America's leaders. Who knows, maybe you'll even find a new favorite dish among them. Thank you for watching this video till the end. If you liked it, check out our channel for more topics of the 1900s, and please do subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with our new videos. See you soon!